note down the different motions that we are testing. For for MCP flexion extension, it's the same. IP flexion extension, it's the same. It will change in your CMC joint. So let's start first with MCP and IP. So you guys go ahead and look at the dorsal aspect of your thumb and try to extend your thumb, but at the same time, try to tense these tendons at the back of your thumb like this. That's your extensor carpi, radialis, longus, and brevis, which are the margins for your snuff box. Can you see? Can you see it on your own hands?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, right here. So the tendon that is at the ulnar border of your snuff box. That's your extensor pollicis longus, and the one here at the radial aspect, it's your extensor pollicis brevis. Okay, your longus extends the IP, brevis extends the MCP. Okay, so okay. Again, when we are testing this, the upper extremity has to be in this position. For testing purposes, let's go ahead and put your hand over.
Sneak out.
Sneak up. Okay. Forearm is in mid position. I will stabilize the rest of the hand. And then for this, make sure that your thumb is not abducted against the palm. Okay. So my instruction will be don't let me bend your thumb forward. So resist. That is for extensor pollicis brevis. And I will be I will also stabilize the MCP right here. Okay, don't let me bend your thumb. Keep it straight. That's for your extensor pollicis brevis. Then I will stabilize the proximal phalanx. And then my instruction will be don't let me bend your thumb. Then I will provide resistance over the distal phalanx off of the thumb for your extensor flexor pollicis longus. Question for extension. We're okay? Okay. Now for MCP flexion and extension, it's the same. Flexor pollicis brevis, it flexes your MCP. Flexor pollicis longus, it flexes your IP joint. Okay, so if you guys remember how we did flexion of the finger, I will stabilize proximal to the joint that I'm testing. So I will stabilize the rest of his hand. Careful not to apply any pressure over the thenar eminence. So my instruction will be, okay, try to bend at your thumb on this joint. I will try to pull the MCP into extension. I will then stabilize the MCP joint. Then I will try to push the distal phalanx into extension for your flexor pollicis brevis. Okay? Right there. Okay. Are we all clear with MCP, flexion, and extension? We're good? Okay, now let's go to your thenar eminence. So I'm going to just do this. Okay, so your thenar eminence, you have your abductor pollicis brevis here at the top of your thenar eminence. If you do this in your hand, that top is your APB, abductor pollicis brevis. Here on the side is your opponents. So here is his APB, here is the opponents. the front slope is your flexor pollicis brevis, which we've already tested with your MCP flexion. Take a look at the line of pull of your abductor pollicis brevis. When this pulls the thumb, it pulls it away from the hand so that your thumb is perpendicular with the palm of your hand. Your APB, when it pulls the thumb, it pulls it away perpendicular with the palm of your hand. Okay? Your opponents, because it's more lateral, when it pulls the thumb, it pulls it up, but it also has that rotational component, so it will rotate it towards your fifth digit. Okay? Your abductor pollicis brevis, when it contracts, it's perpendicular. Your opponents, it has that rotational component, okay, to facilitate opposition. All right, so let's focus on your abductor pollicis brevis. When this contracts, the thumb goes perpendicular to the thumb. This is called palmar abduction, okay? This is palmar abduction, which was just plain abduction with range of motion. But with manual muscle test, it's called palmar abduction by your abductor pollicis brevis. Okay. Now, let's go back to your snuff box. Let's do this again. We said that this is your extensor pollicis longus, extensor pollicis brevis. A little bit radial to your extensor pollicis brevis is your abductor pollicis longus. So can you, where's your snuff? Can you do this? Okay, it's right over here. Sorry. Okay, the tendon of your abductor pollicis longus is right here. So if you imagine, if that contracts, it lifts your thumb away from the palm as well. So it also abducts. But this time, your thumb is parallel with your palm. It's moving towards your radius. So this is called radial abduction. Is it clear? The difference between palmar and radial. Palmar abduction is through your abductor pollicis brevis. The thumb is perpendicular with the palm. Abductor pollicis longus, the thumb is parallel with the palm of your hand by your abductor pollicis longus. Okay? If you look at the position of the thumb, palmar abduction was your plain abduction and range of motion. I'm right. Radial abduction, this is CMC extension in range of motion. Are we clear with the difference? Okay. All right. Now, the last one is, no, we have two more. I did mention your opponents. So your opponents has that rotational component. We test opposition by asking the client to bring the thumb and the pinky finger together. Resistance will be applied at the volar aspect, so we're just pulling the thumb and the pinky finger away from each other. Okay? For palmar abduction, go ahead and lift your thumb away. I will be applying resistance over the lateral aspect of the first of the proximal phalanx. For radial abduction, can you lift your thumb this way? I'm applying resistance over the first metacarpal. All right, the last one is adduction. For adduction, we will just ask the client to bring the thumb against the second and the third metacarpal, like this. Make sure that he is making a 4, okay? And he's not just doing this. Because if the person adducts with the thumb parallel with the first metacarpal, that's your extensor pollicis longus working. It has to be over here, okay? So go ahead and bring your thumb against your palm of your hand. I'm just going to try and lift the thumb away for resistance. Okay, how are you guys holding up? We're okay? No. I think you guys are running short on time, but again, the videos are online, so you can watch what I'm doing. It's all